Hello, dear colleagues, and welcome to our channel, where you can learn English step by step. And today, we have prepared for you an amazing story about love. You know, life is not easy, especially when you are in a foreign country, far away from your home, from your family and friends. But if you are in love, everything is not so bad. If you are in love, you can find some joy in life. So let's start our story. Please listen carefully and try to understand what I am telling you. And don't forget to support us with likes and comments. Let's go. One day a young man was walking around Paris. He was taking pictures of the beautiful buildings and bridges. His name was Mark, and he was from America. Mark lived in a small town called Chicago. He worked as a journalist there, but one day his boss gave him an interesting task. His boss told him to go to Paris and write a story about the Eiffel Tower. Of course, Mark was very happy to get this task because he had always dreamed of going to Paris. When he arrived at the airport, he took a taxi to his hotel. The taxi driver was a funny man. He told Mark a lot of interesting facts about Paris, and the taxi ride was very cheap. When Mark got to the hotel, he checked in and went out to explore the city. The first place he visited was, of course, the Eiffel Tower. It was even more beautiful than he had imagined. Mark spent the whole afternoon walking around the tower, taking pictures, and talking to local people. The next day, Mark got up early in the morning. He wanted to see the sunrise over the city. He found a nice cafe and sat down outside. As he was enjoying his coffee, he saw a beautiful woman sitting at the table across from him. She was smiling and talking to her friends. Mark thought she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. After Mark finished his coffee, he went to the bookstore to buy a guidebook. As he was looking for the book, he saw the same woman from the cafe. She was standing next to him and also looking for a book. Mark wanted to talk to her, but he didn't know what to say. Finally, he decided to be brave and approach her. "Excuse me," he said. "I couldn't help but notice that you were looking at the same book as me." The woman turned around and smiled. "Oh, hello," she said. "Yes, I was wondering if you could help me find it. I'm looking for a guidebook about Paris." Mark felt a little nervous, but he was also excited. Here was his chance to meet a beautiful French woman and practice his French. "Sure, I'd be happy to help you," he said. "It's over there," he added, pointing to the book. The woman thanked him, and they started talking. Mark learned that the woman's name was Celine, and she was a student at the Sorbonne University. They talked for a long time about books, movies, and of course about Paris. Mark was really enjoying himself. He had never met such a charming and intelligent woman. After they finished talking, Mark asked Celine if she would like to have lunch with him. "I know a great little bistro around the corner," he said. Celine smiled and agreed. They walked to the restaurant together and sat outside at a small table. Mark ordered a glass of wine and some cheese and bread for himself. For Celine, he ordered a salad and a bottle of water. They continued talking and laughing. Mark was having the time of his life. He had never met anyone like Celine. She was so beautiful, smart, and funny. He knew that he was in love with her. As the afternoon wore on, Mark and Celine walked around the city. They visited the Louvre Museum, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and the Champs-Élysées. All the time they were talking and laughing. By the time the sun began to set, Mark knew that he was in love with Celine. He couldn't believe how lucky he was to have met her. When they said goodbye at the hotel, Mark promised to call her the next day. He couldn't wait to see her again. The following day, Mark got up early in the morning and went to see Celine. He brought her a bouquet of beautiful red roses and a box of chocolates. "Good morning, Celine," he said. "I hope you like the roses." Celine's face lit up when she saw the flowers. "Oh, thank you, Mark. They're beautiful," she replied. They spent the day together, visiting more parts of the city. They went to the Palace of Versailles. the famous royal palace just outside of Paris. They also took a boat ride on the Seine River and had a picnic lunch on the banks of the river. In the evening, they went to a small, cozy restaurant and had dinner. Mark was so happy. He knew that he had found something special with Celine. As the days passed, Mark and Celine fell deeply in love with each other. They spent every moment together, exploring the city, going on romantic walks, and having candlelit dinners. Mark couldn't believe how lucky he was to have met Celine. He knew that he had found the woman of his dreams. But all good things must come to an end. Mark's time in Paris was coming to an end. He had to go back to America. The thought of leaving Celine filled him with sadness, but he knew that he had to go. On the day that Mark was leaving, he took Celine to the airport. They said goodbye with tears in their eyes. "I'm so glad I met you, Celine," Mark said. "I will never forget you." Celine hugged Mark tightly. "I love you, Mark," she whispered, "and I will never forget you either." When Mark arrived in Chicago, he started to miss Celine terribly. He missed her beautiful smile, her warm hugs, and her infectious laughter. He couldn't believe that he would never see her again. But then he had an idea. He decided to go back to Paris and propose to Celine. He saved money for months and finally bought a ticket back to Paris. When he arrived at the airport, he was so excited. He couldn't wait to see Celine again. He took a taxi to her apartment and knocked on the door. To his surprise, Celine opened the door. "Celine," he said, getting down on one knee, "will you marry me?" Celine's eyes widened in surprise. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Yes, Mark," she said, her voice trembling. "Yes, I will marry you." They hugged each other tightly. Mark was so happy. He couldn't believe that Celine had agreed to marry him. He took her to the same restaurant where he had proposed, and they celebrated with a bottle of champagne. In the following months, Mark and Celine planned their wedding. They decided to have the ceremony in a small church near Celine's house. The wedding was beautiful. All of Celine's family and friends were there to celebrate with her. Mark's parents also flew in from America to attend the wedding. After the ceremony, they had a reception at a local town hall. Everyone danced and celebrated. Mark and Celine were so happy. They knew that they had found true love in each other. Now, Mark and Celine live in a small apartment in Paris. They work as journalists, and they love their life together. They often take walks along the Seine River and visit the Eiffel Tower, which was the place where they first met. They remember that day fondly and are grateful for the love that brought them together. And this is our story. Now you can ask me some questions about it. What is the name of the main character? What did Mark do? Where did Mark and Celine get married? And you can ask me any other questions. Okay, now please read this text and fill in the blanks with the correct words. Once upon a time in a city in France, there lived a young man named Mark. He was one from America. One day he went for a tour around the city. He wanted to take some 3 of the beautiful buildings and bridges. Mark was very to be in Paris because he had always dreamed of going there. So these are the tasks for you today. We suggest you watch this video twice. Listen to the story and read the text. Do you have any ideas? Write your answers in the comments below the video. And if you have some questions about the story, feel free to write them in the comments too. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned something new. Don't forget to support us with likes and comments. See you soon. Bye.